Hello everyone, just going to get straight to the point. Fatality here. This is what I want in patch 2.0. So, here goes. To start, let's keep Mario exactly the same. He's fine for the most part. Donkey Kong, probably also the same, but maybe the slightest of slightest buffs to aerial spinning Kong just because it's a meme at this point. Sure, why not? Link, I think this character is fine except for one thing. That some of the reverse B hitboxes will scoop people from kind of ridiculous distances, and there's just no real reason for that. So making it line up more with the hitbox would just make everything more reasonable and otherwise keep a strong but well-balanced character, just that. Samus and Dark Samus. Now these characters need some quality of life changes. What you could do for a jab is make it actually work properly and lead into each other. Make Jab Chew very similar to make its knockback very similar to the jab knockback it had in Smash 4 with the second jab, which actually set up a lot of cool things and was kind of disappointing that it was taken away. Otherwise, just make some of her multi-hits more reliable, and maybe buff down tilt since that move is kind of buns right now. Otherwise though, solid, but just needs some quality of life changes. Yoshi, strong character, probably doesn't need anything. Seems mostly okay right now, so we can move on to that. Kirby, this character needs a lot. What I would do is probably make it to where his moves other than up tilt have usage, so maybe make down tilt have slightly better range and lead into stuff more so you'd have more burst options. Dash attack is pretty good, keep it like that. Otherwise, I feel like a lot of his moveset works the way it's supposed to, it just doesn't do enough damage. So maybe do kind of like what they did with Shulk in Smash 4 in that one patch, just make like a gazillion of his moves do like 1 or 2 more damage, but otherwise keep them mostly the same. That seems fine. Fox, I would keep this character mostly the same, except the up smash range is a little bit dumb, so I'd probably nerf that a bit. Otherwise, it's okay to have a really strong character, just leave it at that. Pikachu, only thing I would do for Pikachu is make it to where up throw / down throw don't really lead into thunder kills. As for the most part, I don't really think any character should have kill confirms out of grabs unless it's at an extremely high percent where it basically is just a cute replacement for a kill throw. So otherwise, keep strong characters strong, it's okay. Let's see, for Luigi, this character needs a lot. First and foremost, I would remove the infinite, because, or not the infinite, but just the superhero 0 to death. There's no real reason for that. And in return, I'd give him a more functional recovery and just make more of his boxing options better. Because they somehow made him even more polarizing than he was in Smash 4, and that says something. Next up is Ness. This character, I feel like the most silly thing about him by far is just some of up smash and down smash at the ledge. I think everything else, while it kind of personally annoys me, it's fine. And there are plenty of characters that deal with it just fine. But maybe nerf that. Maybe has like 1 frame of end lag to PK fire, and then just make jab a little bit better, because I feel like it's kind of buns right now. Otherwise, we're fine. Falcon, what I'd do for him is I would give him a better initial dash speed, because his current one is as good as Link's, which for a character as fast as he is, why? Make Raptor Boost more reliable on its hitbox, because there are a decent amount of times where the hitbox triggers and nothing comes out. Or not nothing comes out, but it comes out and whiffs. I've literally lost games because Raptor Boost triggered, it came out, it missed, and then I was whiff punished. Why? Otherwise, I'd make it to where his up B has not non-existent, but very minimal ending lag when you hit someone with it. Kind of similar to Peach Bomber in Smash 4 and in this game. It would get rid of rock rocking and it would just do wonders to save Falcon off stage, and at the same time, he wouldn't really be able to get anything meaningful out of it. If they could bring back his old up tilt angle too, that would be nice, and he probably doesn't need anything else, but I wouldn't mind slight damage buffs to a few moves that are weaker in this game compared to Smash 4. Otherwise, he's mostly fine. Jigglypuff, let's see. I feel like a lot of her toolkit is actually fine in general, she just doesn't do enough damage. So just some general damage buffs would probably be enough for her right now. Ganondorf, this is a character that he has a few blind spots on forward smash and a few other moves that are just unfortunate. So if you could fix those blind spots, make it to where his up B can hit people from the ground that are short, because he just jumps over them right now and it's sad, that would be great. Remove the same up B change for him as Falcon. Maybe bring back his old down tilt angle so you can actually use it as a combo starter at low percents. And otherwise, just fix Ganon's sides to where when someone mashes out of it, he isn't left in disadvantage and dies while the other person lives, because you should get rewarded for landing a move. They can just do something with it. Young Link, he can probably stay the same, honestly. Strong character, I don't really see anything overly wrong with him. Same with Martha and Lucina, I think these characters are fine. Falco's probably fine, he just needs maybe a slightly better F-tilt, even though it's already good. Because right now I feel like his neutral game is just kind of underwhelming compared to his punish game. So if they can make his neutral game a little bit better, maybe make a laser have ever so slightly more hit stun to where you still wouldn't be able to combo anything out of it, but at the very least you'd be able to use it more as like an approach tool to where you can hit someone with it, get a slight amount of frame advantage, and then move forward and take advantage, something like that. He's fine otherwise. Pichu, same thing with Pikachu. Maybe make him have like one more frame of end lag on a few things, because it's a little bit, maybe a little too hard to hit him right now, but it's not that big of a deal. Just one frame of end lag on a few moves, that's it. Dr. Mario, they can keep him mostly the same, I think. Maybe make his run speed a little bit better. And otherwise, I would just like to see maybe his down throw being a little bit better. He still wouldn't be able to do crazy things out of it compared to what Mario did in Smash 4, but I feel like his slowness isn't compensated properly with what he can do once he gets to you. So otherwise he's probably fine. Zelda, probably fine. Maybe slightly buff the damage on a few of her more underwhelming moves, like F-tilt, and maybe make up smash and neutral air a little bit more reliable. Otherwise, probably fine. Sheik, I feel like this character's design is mostly fine, but like Zelda, she just needs to do a little bit more damage on a few important moves, and probably fine. I think a lot of people are just overreacting with the changes she got. Ice Climbers, main thing to do with this character, make Nana have functioning brain cells on her own, please. Otherwise, I don't know, I feel like that'd be enough by itself considering the strength of a lot of the desync stuff. Bowser, probably keep him the same, although one thing I'd like to see is making Fire Breath a little bit faster, but then making it do less damage, because right now it can kind of get some silly damage output, but making it faster to where it's more useful and neutral, but less silly when you land it would probably be cool. Peach and Daisy, main thing I would do for these characters is maybe give down tilt a little bit more knockback so there aren't some of those like 80 damage combo strings that are fairly reliable on certain hits. And otherwise probably just make Turnips a little bit worse, to where she would still have a really strong combo game and she'd still be one of the best characters, but it's just a little bit silly sometimes. Mewtwo, with this character, I honestly don't know what to do with him yet. Maybe make a Maybe, I guess, just try and make some of his less useful moves more useful, like maybe give forward tilt a little more knockback since it's kind of useless right now. Maybe make up air a little more useful. And maybe make him weigh a little bit more because I feel like he's almost too much of a glass cannon right now. Roy, I think he's fine for the most part, really good character. Just make the last hit on his Dancing Blade, whatever it's called, do less damage because he basically has limit cross slash from Smash 4, except it's always with him and it's kind of silly. So just nerfing the knockback on that and he's fine otherwise. Crom, same thing for Ike actually, where I think they're fine. The only thing I would do is make it to where their up B kamikaze kills, they kill Crom / Ike before they kill the opponent, just so you wouldn't be able to do some relatively dishonest things with it. That way you could still use it to win games when you're up a stock, and it would still be incredible. It's just a little bit less silly in same stock situations, or just last stock situations in general. Mr. Game & Watch, he's probably mostly fine. Maybe make it to where forward air actually puts your opponent in the slightest end lag when you destroy it, because right now when you hit the bomb, it basically just ceases to exist rather than your hitbox actually interacting with it in a meaningful way. So making it to where that would be the case would be nice, and otherwise just there are some of his multi-hits that people fall out of sometimes, and just fixing them would be nice. Meta Knight, keeping him probably mostly the same would be fine. The only real thing I would do for him is maybe make maybe just increase the damage on a few of his moves, because I feel like he doesn't really do enough outside of his kill strings to really threaten you. Pit and Dark Pit, I think these characters are pretty much fine. Keep them the same. Zero Suit Samus, this character is probably fine. Still pretty good, probably. Still has a lot of good tools at her disposal. Maybe just make her throws do a little bit more damage, because right now they kind of don't really do it. Her throw is fairly fast, and it has good range to it, but I feel like it doesn't really do enough. Making it to where it doesn't kill and it doesn't combo either. If it's not going to do either of those things, at least make the damage output on a little bit better, so that it's a little bit more worth going for that risk. And it would make a lot of her toolkit a lot more complete, while still keeping her relatively the same at her core. Oreo, this character is probably mostly fine. I think I would just make a few of his lesser used moves a little bit better, and then make up tilt and up air a little bit less silly, because I feel like he's a bit of an unbalanced character right now. Not necessarily like too good, just inherently unbalanced, and just toning down up tilt a little bit and toning down up air, and then making some of his worst moves better would be nice. Snake, I'd make Nikita travel a little slower, but otherwise I think this character is mostly fine. Otherwise, maybe make down tilt a little bit better, because it's kind of buns right now. I think he's mostly fine right now. Already talked about Ike. Pokemon Trainer, I would mostly just make Ivysaur up air and down air a little bit less silly, especially down air with its hitbox. Maybe make some of Squirtle's stuff. I can keep Squirtle about the same, keep Ivysaur about the same, except nerf up air and down air, and then just make Charizard better, because I feel like Charizard is just significantly worse than the other two right now. Diddy, you can probably keep him mostly the same, except maybe make some of his smash attacks a little bit stronger, because I feel like they didn't really need to nerf those in the context of everything else he has changed. Little Mac, just give him combos again, because right now this character just has an almost non-existent combo game, and he also doesn't really have ways to realistically kill you, so he just has to straight hit you in neutral over and over again and hope that you won't punish him early for messing up anything ever. Non-existent combo game, plus not being able to edgeguard you, plus absolutely garbage disadvantage means that he just has to play neutral endlessly, whereas you don't. And making it to where he's a little bit more in line with the rest of the cast would just be nice. Rosalina, I feel like this character just needs better damage output for the most part, because a lot of her stuff from Smash 4 was just a little bit too strong, but they compensated by making a lot of her things not work properly. So what you could do instead is make it to where Luma is much less about getting silly early kills, and make it to where Luma just is really good for like crazy damage output, and just focus more on making it to where she has much more incentive to play a puppet game with you. Make her more of a puppet character rather than what she was in Smash 4, where she was basically just a sword character in disguise, where there's little reason not to just keep Luma with you outside of the specific desync setups, and focus more on just making Luma more interesting on her own. Wii Fit Trainer, probably keep them the same, except what I would do is make down B deep breathing last a little bit longer when you have the extra speed and power. Because right now, I feel like unless you get some kind of read immediately out of landing it, there's just not enough reward for it. Maybe make it last a second or two longer when you have the increased speed and power. Keep them the same otherwise. Mega Man, keep him the same, except tone down the silliness of Pellet Buffered Leaf Shield. If any of you have seen this, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, just look it up. Trust me, it's nuts. And otherwise, yeah, keep him the same. Villager, I feel like this character just needs to do a little bit more damage, and he's fine, honestly. Same with Isabelle. Wolf, the only thing I would do with this character is add a little bit of end lag to a neutral B, to where you have to think a little bit more when using it, but it would still be a really strong move. Toon Link, this character's probably fine. Maybe just make him a little bit better at killing to distinguish him more from the other Links. Making his kill moves better, that's about it. Rob, probably just slightly tone down the knockback on side B, and I guess keep him the same otherwise. Lucario, to be honest, I haven't seen or played against this character much, so I don't really know what to say other than... To be honest, I'm just gonna disclaimer, I don't know what to do with Lucario. I don't know how good he is. Olimar, maybe add like 1 or 2 frames of end lag to him throwing Pikmin. And make an up smash a little bit less silly. Otherwise, keep him the same. King Dedede, I think this character is really good, but just people aren't really using him yet. Maybe keep him about the same. I feel like if you're going to tone down a lot of the top tiers, keeping him about the same is probably fine. Sonic, this character is such a wild card, because I don't think he's that good. He just has a few things about him that are really dumb. Maybe make it to where homing attack is a little bit less silly and tone down the range on forward smash, but in turn make the rest of his moves actually usable. Like making neutral air way better for landing and comboing into stuff would be nice. Making it to where up smash is good along with down smash would be nice. I think just enormously buffing those 2 moves would be good. Maybe make down tilt a little more useful for leading into stuff. Maybe not have it true combo into things, but at least make it like Link's down tilt where it just sets up frame traps and juggles. And otherwise, just tone down those 2 really silly moves and just make the rest of his moveset a lot more functional, and he's probably fine. Lucas, don't really know much about this character. Maybe make his down throw bury people a little bit longer, and otherwise just make PK freeze kill a little less early, because it can be a little silly sometimes. Greninja, I think this character's probably mostly fine, except for Shadow Sneak is a little bit much at times. So maybe tone down the base knockback on that, but keep the knockback growth. Or maybe tone down base knockback but increase its knockback growth so that it kills a little more naturally. Keep them the same otherwise. Palutena, only thing I would do for this character is make Nair not really kill, because the fact that it does literally everything else and kill is a bit much. So just doing that to where the move has some semblance of balance is nice, and the rest of her kit is probably fine. Keep it like that. Pac-Man, I don't really know with this character yet, haven't played enough of him, but maybe just give him some slight damage buffs? I don't know. Robin, I feel like this character just needs a little bit more of a combo game, honestly, but keep him the same otherwise. How you would go about that, I don't know, but go with that. Shulk, only thing I would do with this character is make it to where you can't change your Monado arts while you're in hit stun, because being able to switch to shield mode right before you die, or in the middle of a combo, is just beyond dumb. Making it to where he can still do everything else though is probably fine. Bowser Jr., you can probably help this character by just making the hitboxes more reliable, making Mecha Koopa not die the moment it sees a shield, and maybe just make some of the multi-hits a little bit more reliable. Making Mecha Koopa better by itself, along with those other things, and maybe buffing his damage output a little bit, you'd probably be good. Duck Hunt, I don't really know with this character. Most of their toolkit seems to be fairly balanced. It just seems a little bit underwhelming compared to some other characters, so just maybe increase damage output on various key moves, but keep them the same otherwise. Ryu, don't really know other than maybe making reverse aerial rush back here is easier somehow, because it seems like you can't really use it in neutral at all, which is disappointing. Same with Ken, I think. Keep these characters the same otherwise. Otherwise, actually, Ryu needs some buffs now that I think about it. Maybe just make his neutral a little bit better, because it seems like he doesn't really get much out of it, whereas Ken has a lot of really, really good strings and other things. So just making them more of a contrast to each other, giving Ryu more of a neutral and making Ken more about punishes, you're fine. Cloud, mostly fine. Still a really, really good character, low-key. People don't realize it yet. Only thing I'd do for him is nerf the range on Cross Slash, because it had a big range in Smash 4, and for some reason they can hit more in this game. And I cannot understand or agree with that at all. So I just toned down the range to where it's more either like Smash 4's range, maybe slightly smaller, go from there. Corrin, same thing as Duck Hunt. Toolkit in general seems fine. I think a lot of the Corrin players just aren't used to having a more honest neutral, but maybe make Pen have slightly less end lag and just making their damage output a little bit better. Bayonetta, I can't believe I'm in a world where I'm actually saying this, but she needs some help. Honestly, I think the main things you could do for her is making her hitboxes actually link into each other properly. By itself would be most of what she needs. Otherwise, maybe make her kill moves a little bit better and make it to where some of her moves are a little bit better in neutral, because some of her aerial landing lag is kind of disproportionately laggy compared to some other characters. It's okay for it to be laggy when like you extend hitboxes because of bullet arts or other things, but if you're not going to, might as well make it pretty lagless like most characters. But making her hitboxes work properly and making her aerial landing lag more like the rest of the characters, maybe make down tilt a little bit better too, and she's probably fine. Inkling, it's okay to have strong top tiers like a lot of other characters I've gone over, but Roller's a little bit silly right now because you can hit someone with it without committing to immediately jumping out of it and getting the punish, and still get super free smash attacks and what have you. So I just reduced the time on roller to where they can get a reliable punish if they predict that they're going to hit you and then just immediately jump out of it or whatever. But they won't be able to get a reliable punish if they just roll all the way past you, turn around, come back, and then still be able to do a smash attack or whatever. Make their up B more reliable with, or more consistent with the rest of the cast and how you can punish them at the ledge with true frames and what have you, because for whatever reason, pretty much every other character you can true frame roughly the same way, and they just get to ignore that for the most part, so I just make them more consistent with the rest of the characters. And otherwise, maybe just make the damage output on Jab a little bit less silly. It's okay to keep him to rest otherwise. Let's see. Ridley, to be honest, it's so hard to say what to do with this character. I feel like he just has a few moves that aren't really very useful right now, and just making his less used moves have more utility, keep him to the rest otherwise. Simon and Richter, I feel like it's the same thing with Ridley, where they have solid moves. It's just they need a few different. They just need their less used moves to be better. Keep them the same otherwise. King K. Rool, he probably needs. Actually, I would do the same thing with all four of these characters, where I think King K. Rool, outside of Crown, is honestly kind of is a pretty black character. So I think just making his other moves better, like, to be honest, I can't even remember what some of his moves do right now because of how little I see him. But making his moves that aren't armor moves and aren't like Crown or whatever be a little bit more useful would be nice, and maybe giving him slightly less ending lag on various neutral moves, that just those various neutral moves, because right now all he really does is throw a Crown and try to armor through things, and his neutral is pretty lackluster otherwise. Isabel, you can probably keep her mostly the same. Maybe make damage output on a few things slightly better, keep her the same otherwise. Incineroar, I'd probably just make him a little bit faster, honestly. Keep him the same otherwise. And yeah, just make him a little bit faster. Like, make his run speed like at least Ganon's. Me Brawler, this character needs help. Just maybe make the damage on like almost all of his moves better. Because he's just bad. Probably one of the worst characters right now. Me Swordfighter, probably keep this character the same, honestly. Me Gunner, probably just keeping this character about the same, but making their damage output better and making some of their other moves safer would probably be good. Or not safer, actually give them better kill power, because they have safety, they just can't do anything meaningful with it. That covers all the characters. A few other things I'd like to see are some universal changes. I'd like to see perfect pivoting come back, because if we had full wave dashing, it would be redundant, but because we don't, and with the new dash mechanics being the way they are, various moves can be fairly hard to properly microspace, and having perfect pivoting back would give us a good and meaningful microspacing option out of standing that can be kind of hard to take advantage of otherwise, because there's a lot of effective space control when standing and when doing running and or short hop options, but it can be very hard to do like run one way and then do turnaround down tilt or whatever. And so perfect pivoting would make it to where we have that again, and more movement options are cool. I'd make it to where you can toggle stage hazards from the stage select screen instead of rule sets, Then we could have mixed hazards rule sets, and it would be easy and reliable. Please, Nintendo. Please. That'd be godly. Otherwise, I'd like to see short hops being the short hop macro being something you can toggle in controller settings, because right now, the fact that it's literally impossible to do instant full hop aerials is dumb. So if you could bring that back, that'd be great, Nintendo. Otherwise, the last thing I can think of is to mess around with the buffering a little bit. There are certain things you actually get with the new buffer system that are pretty cool. Some stuff with attack canceling and what have you, and being able to buffer frame perfect options out of various situations. The problem is some really basic things like just doing a turnaround short hop aerial and various other things, along with the buffer system literally changing your input sometimes to where you'll move when you didn't mean to with certain aerials out of a short hop. I think the main way you could do that is to make the buffer system just change the priority on some of the things in the buffer system, and then just maybe take 2 frames of buffer off of the game universally, to where there's less time for various inputs to be overwritten. So maybe just shave 2 frames of input lag universally, and then with what remains of the buffer system, just toggle it so that you can not do so many things where you press buttons and something else comes out. Otherwise, though, I think that's about the same, or about but that's about everything I wanted to cover. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see later today what I end up getting, if anything, what I get wrong, if I successfully predict anything interesting, and if we get Piranha Plant and how they end up being. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe to this video, or like the video, subscribe to my YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/fatalityfalcon. And if you want to support me even more directly, you can follow me at twitch.tv/fatalityfalcon, and maybe drop a sub as well while you're at it. Would appreciate it. Either way, see you guys later.